You're now listening to Radio Danzig, broadcasting from the heart of Europe. There are times when the work of a paranormal investigator delving into an historical case is not very different to that of a police detective trying to find answers in a long, unresolved, cold crime. Sometimes important information is hidden in plain sight, and it can perhaps take years for key facts to make sense. Their importance may be only becoming apparent because we've noticed some similar mechanism at work in a crime or incident that mirrors the one we're investigating. A friend recently posted a video about a gay teacher in California who secretly explored his sexuality by allowing transients and homeless people to stay at his home. An experiment that ended when one of them murdered him. That story made me recall a case in Ireland in 1925. Father Vincent was the son of a fairly wealthy farming family. As a priest, he was at best adequate. His parishioners respected him, but they did not like him. The village people made no social calls. They did not visit his home. And the house itself, after his passing, was left unoccupied, left to the mercy of the wind and rain. Father Vincent played his part. He prayed for and visited the old, the sick and the poor, but without any great display of sympathy. Oddly enough, this notoriously friendless man showed more pity for transients, vagrants, young men passing through the area whom he offered accommodation to in his own home. In fact, he was seen strolling along towards his house in the company of a handsome young beggar shortly before he was found dead. Though Father Vincent was disliked as a man, he was a priest, so a certain amount of whitewash was applied to his character. His parishioners decently decided to downplay his associations with vagabonds and tactfully referred to him as a gentle, retiring soul, more at home with his books than with people. The obvious possibility that he might have been murdered by an invited male guest was avoided. Now you may think that there is probably very little mystery about what happened to Father Vincent, but you'd be wrong, because in all likelihood his killer was apparently not entirely human. On the day of the funeral, quite a number of local people attended the service at the church, and many flowers were provided. But only family members and the officiating priest accompanied the eclectic procession of vehicles that drove down the narrow, winding country lanes to the mountainside graveyard where the priest was to be laid to rest with his kinfolk. Father Vincent's old mother seemed inconsolable. He was the youngest son and her favourite, and she was so proud that he'd become a priest. However, everyone else, including the priest who officiated at the graveside, had had enough of the gloomy, rain-filled occasion and simply wanted to finish the rites and leave as soon as possible. It was growing dark as they left the cemetery. The hearse was followed by several private cars, a taxi hired for the day, and a couple of pony carts. Halfway back to the village, the hearse leading the procession stopped and refused to start again. trapping the other vehicles behind it in the confines of the country lane. With no way to move forward, the mourners grumbled and sighed and listened to the rain tip-tapping on the roofs and windows of their conveyances. Some of them closed their eyes and slumbered beneath their overcoats and travelling rugs, but most of them remained awake and gradually became aware of a dark figure walking down the lane, dressed in a long, dark overcoat, pausing furtively to peer into the vehicles as he passed. At least one person in every conveyance got a good look at the man's face. They realized that he was Father Vincent, the man they had just lain in his grave a short while earlier. He grimaced and showed teeth that were long and sharp. He walked on towards the village and left the stranded people far behind.